We have discussed many aspects of the race for president coming up in 2024, but the presidency is only one important race coming up next year. For a Republican president to be able to do anything when he steps back into the White House, it is imperative that we also take back the Senate. Not only must Republicans take back the Senate, we must also ensure that we have the most conservative, nationalist, America First warriors possible as the Republican nominees in every state where that is possible. We must win the primaries for the general to have any meaning. We need a choice, not a uniparty echo. And that is why today we'll be going over all 33 Senate races by state alphabetically, quickly passing over the safe blue states where it makes no sense to dwell on who will be our candidate because they won't win anyway, and focusing on the battleground races to determine who will be the best possible candidate in each race. Let's begin. Arizona. Starting in Arizona, we have one of the most interesting primary cycles so far. Arizona has one of the most America First benches out of any state in the nation. Unfortunately, they also have Democrats occupying most of their statewide offices, and serious funny business takes place in Maricopa County during election season. Kari Lake, Abe Hamada, Mark Lamb, Andy Biggs, and Blake Masters are all potential candidates for Senate in 2024. And while that list is pretty great, Blake Masters is my clear choice for this race. Blake has the name recognition and is great on the issues. While Andy Biggs also fulfills these criteria, he's too valuable in the House right now, and I don't think we should risk him leaving Congress completely if he were to lose the general election. Blake is not currently holding any office and would likely attract funding from Peter Thiel once again, as well as gaining Trump's endorsement if he shows good momentum in the polls. Kari Lake has tarnished her image in the state of Arizona because of the harsh statements she has made about John McCain, as true as they may be. So I believe she is better suited to serve on the Trump campaign team and eventually in his cabinet. If she is the nominee, however, so be it. This leaves Abe Hamada and Mark Lamb, neither of which is bad, but neither are as inspiring as Blake Masters either. Hamada should run for governor in 2026 or some other statewide office again, as should Lamb, if not running for Congress in 2024. In this likely three-way general election, where incumbent Senator Kristen Sinema will likely be running as an independent and splitting the liberal vote with the Democrat nominee, Blake Masters is the best choice for Senate in 2024. He will likely be able to win just over 45% of the vote, which is all that will be needed, assuming Sinema finishes with over 5%, which is very likely. California, Connecticut, and Delaware. California, Connecticut, and Delaware are all still far off the table for Republicans in 2024. The bench is mostly unknown in these states, as no Republican holds any statewide offices, or federal offices in the cases of Delaware and Connecticut. Maybe in 10 years' time, we can focus more on Delaware and Connecticut, but as for now, let some grassroots candidate run and don't spend any national GOP funds there. I'd say maybe Kevin Faulconer or Brian Dale for Senate in California, but honestly, it does not matter. Florida. As much as I'd love to see Florida Representatives Matt Gaetz, Byron Donalds, or Anna Paulina Luna running for Senate, the fact is that Rick Scott is a powerful senator and isn't going to face any primary challengers. He also isn't that bad on the issues, so let's just let him run for a second and most likely final term. Hawaii. In Hawaii, we find another state with basically zero Republican bench. While I would love to see former Representative Tulsi Gabbard run for Senate, either challenging Hirono in the primary or running as an independent, it most likely won't happen. But that is our best case scenario for the Aloha State. Indiana. Jim Banks has been an America First warrior in the House Freedom Caucus and is solid on the issues. Currently, he's running for the open seat unopposed, though it sounds like the neocons are trying to recruit a challenger anyway. He is my complete and total endorsement and will make a great addition to the Senate come 2025. Maine. In Maine, I would love to see former Governor Paul LePage run for Senate in 2024. He was elected governor twice as a Republican, while a third party was on the ticket as well. In 2024, Angus King, an independent senator, is running for re-election. That means LePage would have a shot at victory if the vote is split at all with the Democrats in any way. Maryland. There is no point of running anyone substantial in Maryland. Larry Hogan would maybe make the race closer, but he is a total rhino. He would likely lose nonetheless. Republicans should stop spending money in this state. Massachusetts. The same goes for Massachusetts. Charlie Baker could run and make things closer, but he again is a total rhino and not someone we want at the national level of the Republican Party. Michigan. In Michigan, I have a tie between two great potential candidates, both of which are unlikely to jump in, but if they do, they would have my total endorsement. The first is John Gibbs, who had a standout congressional campaign in 2022, but the district he was running in just didn't fit him. With Trump at the top of the ticket and a well-funded campaign, Gibbs would have a long-shot chance at the Senate, and would at the very least raise his name recognition in case he runs for another office down the road. Michigan is currently dominated by Democrats, both senators, the governorship, Secretary of State, and Attorney General. The Michigan bench is very weak for Republicans. With Stabenow retiring, a divided Democratic primary, and Trump on the ballot, this presents the best shot at taking a Senate seat for the foreseeable future in the state of Michigan. If Gibbs passes on a Senate bid, Perry Johnson would be an even more effective nominee, who I would be equally happy with. Perry Johnson is currently running for president, but has no realistic path to victory. Johnson is a multimillionaire who has had success in the private sector. He ran for governor in 2022, and he would have likely done better than Tudor Dixon in the general election. He could self-finance his own campaign, as he is for president right now. He is a Trump-like, successful businessman figure without the righteous anger in his voice that Trump has always had. Trump won Michigan in 2016 against all odds. Has the state shifted left since then? Possibly, but hope is not lost. With Trump at the top of the ticket and a charismatic, energetic Senate candidate, this seat is not completely out of reach. Minnesota. Tom Sheehy is currently a candidate for Senate in the neighboring state of Montana as a carpetbagger. He should return to his home state of Minnesota and put up an actual fight against Senator Amy Klobuchar. He is likely one of the only people who could make this race close and self-finance in the process. Montana has a far better candidate from their own state, so Tom really should go back and fight for his home state. If not Sheehy, there is no other viable Republican candidate for the state of Minnesota. Mississippi. Incumbent Senator Roger Wicker is currently running for re-election. His challenger is Dan Eubanks, a state representative. While it is a long-shot challenge, it would make for a great upgrade. If he can build a grassroots movement to unseat Roger Wicker, it could be a great thing for Mississippi and for our nation. I definitely support this challenge and encourage those of you in Mississippi to find a way to get involved. I wish him luck, and I hope he can make the upset. Missouri. Josh Hawley has been a fantastic senator, one of the best in the nation, and has well earned a second term in the Senate. Montana. Matt Rosendale is one of the best members of Congress, a true America First warrior, and one of the 20 congressmen who stood up to Kevin McCarthy during the speakership vote. Matt Rosendale is one of the best members of Congress, a true America First warrior, and one of the 20 congressmen who stood up to Kevin McCarthy during the speakership vote.
Rosendale.
Kevin.
Hearn.
If he were to join the Senate, he would instantly be a top 5 senator among the ranks of J.D. Vance, Josh Hawley, and potentially Jim Banks and Blake Masters. Establishment carpetbagger Tim Sheehy should honestly drop out of this race and go back home to his state of Minnesota, where he is a much better fit. Rosendale is the best pick for Montana in 2024. Nebraska. Nebraska is a unique state in this cycle, as it has 2 Senate seats up this election. Neither senator is as conservative as they should be for the state of Nebraska. Pete Ricketts is new to the Senate, while Deb Fischer has been there for years and is getting quite old. I would support a challenge by Charles Herbster against either of these 2 senators, though whether or not that challenge would be successful remains to be seen. Either way, there isn't much going on in this race to talk about. The two incumbents are most likely going to win re-election. Nevada. Adam Laxalt is the best candidate for the seat by far. He lost by only 8,000 votes in 2022. With Trump on the top of the ballot, Laxalt would almost definitely make it over the finish line. The problem is, Laxalt has stated he will not run again, currently spending his time on the Ron DeSantis campaign for president. He still has time to change his mind, but likely would not get the Trump endorsement in 2024. If not Laxalt, Rick Harrison is probably our next best choice. He has high name recognition from starring on a popular TV program, Pawn Stars. He's a big fan and supporter of Donald Trump, but would most likely be closer to Rand Paul than J.D. Vance when it comes to policy. Sam Brown, the current frontrunner, is a carpetbagger and would likely be a neocon if elected. More likely, he would lose the general election. Heidi Gensert, the Republican Senate leader in the Nevada State Senate, is also a possibility if Laxalt and Harrison stay out of the race. Hopefully one of those three will run and Brown will not be the nominee. New Jersey. Republicans have virtually no path to victory in a New Jersey Senate race come 2024. That being said, personally, I'd like to see Chris Smith run for the seat for the sole purpose of that rhino retiring from the House after 40 years. This way, our friend Mike Crispy can run for his open House seat once again, thereby becoming one of the best members of Congress instantly in January 2025. New Mexico. Republicans have basically no path to victory in the New Mexico Senate race in 2024. Mark Ronchetti could run for the seat again and get 40% again. But it truly doesn't matter who the candidate is in 2024. The state is unlikely to flip this cycle. New York. In New York, former gubernatorial candidates Lee Zeldin and Andrew Giuliani would both make for great Senate candidates. Lee Zeldin could theoretically pull off a win, though it would be a long shot, and Giuliani would make for an interesting and energized race, though he would probably fall short by a slightly larger margin than Zeldin. Either way, New York is likely out of reach for Republicans in 2024. North Dakota. Kevin Cramer is the current senator from North Dakota and has no primary opponents as of now. He has been a fairly decent Trump ally during his term in the Senate and does not merit a primary challenge this cycle. It is possible he will retire, but we do not know who the candidates would be to replace him. Ohio. Ohio actually has a pretty great conservative bench. J.D. Vance, my distant cousin, was elected to the Senate there in 2022, leaving a large pool of America First conservatives to be potential challengers for Sherrod Brown's seat come 2024. Warren Davidson might be the best on policy, but has recently stated he will not seek the Senate, seemingly holding out to run for governor in 2026. Jim Jordan has been content with his position as chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. J.R. Majewski is running for the House again this year. Vivek Ramaswamy is running for president. This leaves Secretary of State Frank LaRose and businessman Bernie Moreno. Of the two, I believe Moreno is better on the issues, and LaRose should hold onto his position of Secretary of State for the upcoming elections. Moreno has been endorsed by Vance, Zeldin, and Turning Point Action. Moreno is my pick for Ohio's Senate seat in 2024. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, as of now, is one of the most challenging flips to make out of all the states that are possibly flippable in 2024. This is both because Bob Casey is an electoral juggernaut in the state and because our potential candidates aren't the best. With Mastriano out of the race, I believe the best candidate would be Sean Parnell, the original frontrunner in 2022. Unfortunately, he had to drop out of the race due to family issues in 2022, and because of those issues, it seems unlikely that he will run in 2024. The current frontrunner is 2022 candidate David McCormick, a total neocon who we want nowhere near the Senate. For this reason, I would support Dr. Oz running again to keep McCormick away from the nomination, though I still think Dr. Oz is pretty bad on a lot of the issues. I would love to see retired General and current Congressman Scott Perry jump into the race, but due to the unlikelihood of victory, I would hate to lose his voice from the halls of Congress completely in the event that he loses his Senate bid. Currently, it is hard to decide who the best candidate will be, but it definitely is not McCormick. Rhode Island. Rhode Island is another safe Democrat seat with no candidate of any recognition ready to take on Senator Whitehouse. Republicans should not put any resources into this race in 2024. Tennessee. Senator Marsha Blackburn has been a fairly solid senator who I would support for re-election. She has not yet announced her intent to run for re-election, and in the unlikely case that she does retire, I would happily endorse Congressman Andy Ogles to fill that vacancy. I believe he will make a great fit for higher office in the state of Tennessee one day, whether or not it is in 2024 or someday in the future. Blackburn has been a great senator so far, and if she runs for re-election, she is very deserving of a second term. Texas. Senator Ted Cruz is running for re-election as of now. Unfortunately, it would be quite the challenge for someone to primary and replace Senator Cruz. Ideally, I would like to see Attorney General Ken Paxton take on the task. He would be a far superior senator to Cruz, and if not him, Don Huffines would also be a major upgrade. Unfortunately, these men, at least publicly, seem to be friends with Ted Cruz, so it would be a complete shock if someone were to primary him in 2024. Nonetheless, Ted Cruz is likely the weakest incumbent Republican we have going into 2024. Utah. Mitt Romney has been an absolute disaster for the state of Utah. Mayor Trent Staggs offers the best alternative to Romney. He's been attacking Mitt Romney from the right, but also appeals to the more libertarian wing of the Republican Party. Unlike Romney and fellow challenger Brad Wilson, Staggs seems to be the most socially conservative in his platform. While Trent Staggs is likely the best candidate for Utah Senate in 2024, I will say this: anyone is better than Mitt Romney. Primary him out. Vermont. Vermont will likely re-elect Bernie Sanders with close to 70% of the vote once again. There is no good reason for Republicans to put any resources into this race. Run someone grassroots and let it be. Virginia. In Virginia, Governor Glenn Youngkin could make a run for Senate and actually have a chance to pull off that victory. But he would probably be better off staying in the governorship and continuing to terraform the state, making it more conservative and therefore more competitive for Republicans in future races. Youngkin could also run against Senator Warner in 2026 after making serious changes to the political climate of the state as governor. I really like Scott Parkinson for Senate. He exemplifies the everyman. He has worked for senators, but has never held elected office himself. He is not a career politician and is pretty good on the issues. But Hung Cao is also running for the Senate seat this term. Hung Cao is a Navy veteran who ran for Congress in 2022 and overperformed in his race, just falling short of victory. While I still think Parkinson is the best candidate on the issues, Cao may be able to make the race closer and force Democrats to spend more money protecting Tim Kaine. Money that they won't be able to spend in Ohio, Montana, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. So for that reason, Hung Cao is probably our best bet in Virginia in 2024. Washington. In Washington state, no Republican would come close to victory in 2024. Rhino former Congresswoman Jamie Herrera Butler has expressed interest in the seat and will likely lose by 10 points. Republicans should not invest any resources into this state. West Virginia. Governor Jim Justice is term limited in 2024, but is very popular in the state of West Virginia. While the state is almost guaranteed to be a Senate pickup for Republicans in 2024, Justice would win by a significant margin and likely only serve one term, giving Republicans a chance to upgrade the seat even further in the future. Alex Mooney, who is currently running against Jim Justice, should hold on to his House seat for now and challenge pro-choice Republican Senator Shelley Moore Capito in 2026. Wisconsin. With Congressman Mike Gallagher recently announcing he will not seek the Senate seat in 2024, the race is now open for Congressman Tom Tiffany, Wisconsin's best current congressman. Tiffany has shown his ability to organize a grassroots system to get out the vote in northern Wisconsin, a key region to win statewide. If replicated in the Driftless area and the Wild counties, Tiffany may present the best chance to unseat Senator Tammy Baldwin in 2024. With Trump at the top of the ticket, Wisconsin would have the best chance out of any Rust Belt state to flip back to Trump in 2024 and flip the Senate seat along the way. If Tiffany fails in this polarized national environment, his higher name recognition would instantly make him the frontrunner for governor in 2026, but hopefully it does not come to that. Tom Tiffany has my endorsement for Senate in 2024. Wyoming. In Wyoming, John Barrasso has been a very mediocre senator, but has consistently won the general election with over 60% of the vote. No candidate has announced their intention to primary Barrasso, and any primary attempt would likely be futile nonetheless. Liz Cheney could enter the primary from the left, but this too would undoubtedly end in her defeat. Unless Trump were to get personally invested in this primary, there is no point in challenging Senator Barrasso unless a dark horse candidate emerges in the near future. Conclusion. The 2024 Senate elections will be interesting. Our floor is basically 50. Our ceiling could be as high as 56. We could have great upgrades in Jim Banks, Matt Rosendale, Blake Masters, Tom Tiffany, Bernie Moreno, and whoever can replace Mitt Romney. Unfortunately, America Firsters are up against our own party leadership. As Mitch McConnell has stated, he wants to see moderate nominees who are not MAGA Republicans. So, if you are in one of the battleground states, get involved in the primary and fight for America First candidates. It is one thing to support a candidate online, as I am doing right now. It is something entirely different to get out into the real world and door knock and phone bank and attend events for candidates in the real world. We need to be doing both. Get to work and let's take back our country. I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and share it with a friend. If you want to hear from me more frequently, follow me on Twitter where I post almost daily. I hope to see you in the next one. Take care, and God bless.